Welcome to Season 4 of the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom, where we discuss business agility through customer experience, employee experience, and digital transformation. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed on this show, you can go to my website at gregkihlstrom.com and read my latest articles or get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, now available on Amazon and other retailers. My name is Greg Kihlstrom, and I'm the host of the Agile Brand podcast. Today we're going to talk about the continued evolution of customer experience and how people, processes, and technology play critical roles. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome a guest with more than 20 years of experience in IT, infrastructure, and customer service, including prior roles at Toshiba and IBM, Steve Petruk, President of Global Outsourcing at CGS. Steven, welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here with the Agile Brand.
Yeah, looking forward to talk about this topic with you. And so why don't you start by giving a little background on yourself as well as what you're currently doing at CGS.
First, I'd like to really thank you for the opportunity. This is my favorite topic. I'm really passionate about service and the customer experience. I'm extremely fortunate, and I do mean extremely fortunate, that I've lived my career with a focus on both service and customer experience. I started my work life in the beer business, believe it or not, and I worked for a company whose guiding principle was making friends is our business. So I kind of embraced that, and it drove me to, I need to work and I need friends. Why not work with my friends? And so I implement that both internally with my employees as well as with my customers. And that's a template that really drives my approach to business. This approach has enabled me in my progression up the IBM ladder. I started out as an advisory project leader, PMP certified, worked my way through that project management rank, ultimately getting to the role of VP responsible for North American enterprise space. While I was there, I was recruited by Toshiba, and I'd always had an affinity to the retail space, so that was an easy shift for me to go run their global services organization. While I was there, I was a customer of CGS, and I met Phil Friedman, our CEO and founder. And through my career, I'd been frustrated with how business and the service environment was so transactional, and the delivery, it was focused on delivery versus on the customer experience, which in turn would drive delivery metrics and focus on that instead of focusing on the customer things around. At CGS, we believe, and Phil preaches this every day, that we're a people business. We have three really diverse yet complementary lines of business, and we're capable of delivering a solid manufacturer to service delivery solution. I'm personally responsible for our largest division, our business process outsourcing division, and I partner frequently with Doug Stevens, who's our president of recently announced Teamwork AR, where we utilize augmented reality, digital twinning, et cetera, to solution support, field services, and professionals, and enable them to be much more experienced and enhanced expertise across the enterprise. And then also with Paul Magel, who's our president of Application Solutions and Technology Outsourcing, where we deliver solutions to many of the Fortune 500 retailers.
Well, thanks for that background. So today, we want to look at customer experience from a few different angles. So let's start with the people aspect of it. So anyone familiar with customer experience knows just how critical this people component is to ensuring happy customers. How are factors like the Great Resignation that we're all hearing so much about, how are factors like this affecting customers?
The interesting question. The Great Resignation, it's really put an enormous strain, not just on the business environment, the customer service environment, but really on our culture. It's also created an opportunity, and I choose to embrace the opportunity for service companies like ours to reinvent and refocus on the customer versus the metrics. Companies, I think, now have a much better understanding that more than ever before how important loyalty and promoter scores can be to their overall business performance. and it can drive growth even more than focusing on how fast you answer the phone, how long is the customer on hold. Although good key indicators, they're not the end all be all. We need not look any further than just look at the last few months of the impact of the latest Omicron variant in COVID. In just the last few weeks, thousands of flights were canceled or delayed, and retail stores had to shut down due to COVID protocols. These challenges drive more demand out of the consumer. I am pre-pandemic. I was a couple 100,000 mile a year flyer, and when I would call, I would get an immediate answer. They knew who I was and get on. Now, I get a message. The whole time's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Does that change my perception of the company, or does that change my loyalty to the company? Am I more likely to go elsewhere? So it's problematic for all of us in the service environment. To address these challenges in the year ahead, I think the adoption of self-service and remote customer service solutions that will increase among the businesses as they tap into a host of technologies like like AI, mixed reality, etc. Using digital twin to empower customers to support their own product and immersive customer interactions, which will improve their user experience and reduce the need for costly and demanding on-site field service solutions when consumers may not want them in their house.
Yeah, and I think we'll return a little bit to that concept of self-service in a bit as well. But before that, we talked about the great resignation affecting customers. What about the relationship between employee experience and customer experience? How would you explain that relationship? And, what are some ways that organizations can improve that connection?
With the change from primarily brick and mortar solutions to more um, work from home or blended solution, work from home or work remotely, work from brick and mortar, we've had to invest in technologies. And big portion of companies today, they have recruited, hired, and trained people that have never been into an office. They maybe have not looked their direct manager in the eye. Their affinity or loyalty to the company may not really be established. And that in itself is going to, can profoundly impact the customer experience. Find, especially in our business, that our employees they develop an affinity or even getting ingrained in their customer that they support in their culture and understand that. And working in this environment has caused some difficulty and could have an impact on customer experience. So, we need to empower our employees, and to empower somebody is not enough. You also have to enable them. For example, in the field service, ineffective training can be frustrating for an employee. If they maybe haven't had the robust training they might have had when they were in a brick and mortar. The employee then, that's reflected in how they handle the call. It could even put them in an unsafe environment, and it provides less than a quality customer experience when it comes to solutioning those issues. Companies have implemented innovative technology, which I touched on a few minutes ago, that improve the employee experience. In fact, at CGS, we've launched an enhanced augmented reality platform, Teamwork with AR. It allows for enterprise organizations to leverage AR for remote onboarding and training, remote and guided repair maintenance, employee collaboration, and other field services and use cases. And we've started the whole, actually right before this call, I got off a call around artificial intelligence. So we've implemented artificial intelligence for the recruiting and testing and onboarding employees to align them to the culture that they're going to be supporting. It not only allows us to vet them out, it allows them to vet us. They get to see what a day in the life of a call center agent or support personnel versus, when you're in brick and mortar, you walk in, you can see it. When you're working from home, you may not have that opportunity. So they get visibility and access to what their life would be like, operating in this environment.
We've talked about the people aspect of customer experience. Now let's talk a little bit about the technology aspect and technology's role in customer experience. So Well, a lot of talk in CX is about how companies can be hands-on and work collaboratively with customers. As you mentioned previously, a lot of customers simply want to get things done quickly and often without having to deal with people. They want that self-service or other options like that. How would you recommend that companies think about this in terms of creating great customer experience, not just quick or easy, but great customer experience that involves few, if any, people?
That's a great question. For immediacy and supplemental to the human experience, self-service and remote source solutions, they can enable more efficient and customer services interaction that benefits the business and the consumer. Businesses can tap into mixed reality. Many of us have used shopped in different sites where you're going to buy something, you can put it in, see what it looks like in your living room. With our augmented reality, we're able to show things like an point of sale, the bill note recycler, the bills going through in 3D. So it's a much more interactive and real life use of digital twinning, and other technology for the immersion of the customer interaction that improves this. This improves their experience and it reduces the need for that costly and investment in the demanding field services. You see field service organizations shrinking today because just because people don't want them in their house, they may not even want them in their store, depending on where we are in the peaks and valleys of COVID. Being creative around the use of self-service and or self-guided or agent-assisted solutions that will lighten the load for businesses that are most adversely affected by the pandemic and subsequently the Great Resignation. The other thing is around consumer adoption, although a bit slower on the on demand for practices and recent developments in the right to repair. You know, People want to be able, to your point, they want to be able to repair things quickly. Just because you want to doesn't necessarily mean you're technically enabled. And I
Right.
know, I'm a Harley rider. The Harley guys tell me first thing when I bought one was if you fix it yourself and it's not fixed right, I'm going to charge you a lot more than if you bring it in to me to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So, right, and there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of ways to try to do it yourself. But if you don't have the technology, getting somebody using technology like augmented reality, mixed reality, agent assist, all of those things will enhance and improve the chances of being able to fix it yourself.
So you referred to some of the work that CGS is doing in AR and VR in relation to customer service and delivery as well as other things. What is so compelling about these technologies, and how can they really enhance the customer experience?
So one of the ways that we're using that's more consumer facing is around consumer facing companies is connecting them and supporting their customers through augmented reality. Where the expert guides the user. So let me back up. Customer calls in, has a problem. We can send them a link via text. They can access it via URL, and we can see what they see. Right? So we see there, it's like virtually being in the room with them. We can guide them. We can point screwdrivers to screws. We can show USB ports. We can walk them through that solution, and help them more quickly and efficiently fix their problem. From a manufacturer perspective, it's a benefit because their cost of service is less, and with a major consumer appliance company that we're working with, that we've implemented this. It's creating a I'm in the room with you type guide through how do I, where you turn, replace, etc. on experience for the consumer. And the approach has driven a 25% decrease to product replacement costs. And more importantly, and I do mean more importantly, it's increased the customer satisfaction and loyalty. Net the customer increased product availability, versus downtime and the product and their experience and loyalty to the manufacturer is going to be far greater. Last year, we researched consumer sentiment related to self-service repairs and assembly of household items around appliances, technologies, in-home media devices, etc. And we found that 71% of consumers were fixing items on their own, partly resulting from the pandemic, but also because of the inconvenience of returning an item for repair and long wait times, calling in long, if you were looking for remote support, that could be problematic at times, depending on when it was. Many felt that they could handle the fixes on their own, like me and my Harley, and the 30% said that they were aware and in favor of a right to repair the legislation. Also, 43% of those surveyed responded stated that they would be interested in using technology and where an expert guided them through the steps, gave them a sense of comfort that they were doing it correctly, and either do it via URL or through their smartphone or tablet.
So we'll switch gears a little bit to social media. It's been around nearly 20 years now. It's funny to think that, but its relationship to business seems to continue to evolve. How is social media's role evolving in relationship to the customer experience?
So this is a great not challenge, but well, it is a challenge. So social media is a great thing. It can help you, it can harm you, right? If all it takes is one tweet or post or something about a company that can really erode that company's opportunity to grow. Consumers are more and more turning to social media. It is the fastest growing service channel amongst our customers. And it's interesting dynamic that they're building in communities where people join a community and it's really enables a self-help solution, and they get influencers in the communities to drive them to solutions, but also gives them an opportunity to connect to a live agent via chat, email, and in some cases voice. I really think that over time you're going to see consumers bypass traditional methods. Instead, I'll look for them to go to Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, WhatsApp, Apple Business Messenger, Google Business Messenger. Right, we're really seeing a huge growth in that space, and it's an interesting dynamic how they get there, and people become, we're a society that is becoming more, lack of a better term, influenced by influencers.
Right.
Right. We want the people that profess to be the SMEs. We believe in when we take their direction. Yeah, many of us believe and inspect, and we'll go check things out on our own to make sure we're getting the right advice. But consumers do have an access to that media, and they can go do it. We have there's over 1 billion users on TikTok. It's important for brands to promptly curate and monitor that content that's going on in there. And many of our customers that are very active in social, they do, they have people monitor. They have auto manufacturer heard the other day that they'd hired 25 ambassadors, and they're giving them, a vehicle for the year and use of a private helicopter once a week or once a month, to help them monitor what's going on in social media, because it's become such a large portion of the service environment.
So, as far in terms of measuring all of this, so how should organizations measure technology's effectiveness in improving the customer experience? Are there ways to do this beyond, we've got Net Promoter Score, we've got CSAT or customer satisfaction. Are there ways to do this beyond those kind of go-to metrics, or how? In other words, how do organizations know that they're using the right technology to serve their customers?
So I think that, to me, I personally believe that there's no more important measurement than customer experience. Bar none, I think that's the end of the day. You can look at all the other things. You can look at ASA, handle time, hold time, first time fix rates, all of that, but it comes down to customer experience. That said, I think that, each of us have a little different vision of what makes us loyal, what our experience is like, and it's up to us to enable our consumers, our customers, to be able to get the medium that they choose. Right? If we, the comment I made about employees earlier, it's not just about empowering them if you don't enable them. If we're going to empower our consumers, our customers, we have to enable them, and that's going to come through the implementation of different technologies, different support mechanisms, like what we're doing with Teamwork AR. At the end of the day, the ASA may deliver a good CSAT score, but if the call ends there, that's not necessarily going to generate customer loyalty, which we've shown in surveys is what really drives repeat buys and increased revenue and profit.
Well, one last question before we wrap up here. As we look ahead, what are some key areas that enterprises should be considering making investments in?
So if they're not already doing it, companies, they really need to invest in automation and immersive technologies like AR to transform their customer experience functions. For example, augmented decision trees or chatbots or self-guided agent routing can improve metrics and like customer churn. When you pair that effectively with human agents, automation can, for call centers, can ultimately improve customer experiences while allowing companies to meet heightened service demands. RPA, the implementation of RPA for customer interactions, take the redundant, non-technical, non-human need processes and optimize them so that the agents can focus and service techs can focus on the consumer. And then business leaders, they should also look to invest in technology that enable them to personalize support. We've made a big transformation with our Teamwork AR team, where self-service options are starting to gain ground so that each event becomes personalized to that consumer or customer on the other end.
That's great. Well, Stephen, thanks so much for joining the show. For those listening, what's the best way for them to keep up with you and what you're doing?
So first of all, Greg, thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure. I could talk about customer service for days. I love the customer. If we focus there, that drives business. I'm always open and available. If you want more on CGS or what we're doing, we're very active in social media. Listeners can get updates via our CGS website. We're on other social media channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, and that's computer-generated solutions.
Wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to thank Stephen Petruk, President of Global Outsourcing at CGS, for joining the show. Thanks for listening to The Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom. Talk with you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.theagilebrand.show. To get a copy of my latest book, Meaningful Measurement of the Customer Experience, visit my website at gregkihlstrom.com. Until next week, stay agile.